2022 application. So all the files have been updated. So you'll see if you go through the guide, it's a 2022 guide. So please take a look, especially if you're new, but even if you're not, maybe you haven't looked it over in a while. A lot of the questions I get are actually in the guide. The answers are in the guide right now. So feel free to take a look at that. Maybe you'll learn something new that you didn't know before. But again, you could still always ask me questions. We also have instructions for completing this. That's like a Word version of this presentation, pretty much a written out instructions. You'll also find that in the first tab of your application, and I'll show you that later. Then the next one is the training for application forms. That's a PDF copy of this presentation that I'm giving now. So if you want to go back, I'm sure your county will share this with you, but if not, there's the PDF version on our website all the time that you can access. The next four are going to be your application forms, so I'll go over those in a minute. And towards the bottom are just some additional informational things. So you have your MTG recyclable material types and codes. That's a list of all the different materials that we collect and what their codes are. You have a conversion table. You have definitions. Those are really helpful if you're looking to see like where a material might fit, like what under what material type. The definitions have a little bit more detail on that. And at the end, you have NJAC 7:26A-11, which is your standards for municipalities, which goes along with one of your application forms. So I'll go over that in a little bit more detail in a moment. So we're going to start with our first form, and that's the big form with all the data. So you'll go, I highlighted here, the Municipal Tonnage Grant Reporting Form. You just click on the icon, the Excel icon. It's a very old icon, but it is Excel. It should download to the bottom of your screen. When you open your Excel document, you're going to have a yellow bar across the top. It's either going to say protected view or security warning. You'll need to enable whichever one shows up. Sometimes, depending on your version of Excel that you have on your computer, once you enable one, the other one will show up and you'll have to enable that as well. This just enables all the different functionalities that we've built into your Excel document. Once you do this, you won't have to do it again. Once you save the document and keep working on it, you won't have to enable it every time. You'll see a red warning label right across the top part of your application. We've built that in just to remind people again, you need to enable. That part will not go away even if you do enable. It's just something we've put on there to make people recognize that that needs to be done. And you'll see that here. You'll see that red arrow. That will not go away even after you do enable. So once you do that, you will see that you'll be able to save your document. So make sure you save it first. When you name your document, please name it your municipality name and then the year for the application. A lot of people do not do this, even though I say it about 1 million times. You'll hear me say it several more times throughout this presentation. It does save us a lot of time in the review process because I have to save all the attachments and I have to rename a majority of the forms, and it just takes a little bit more time to get things done. So if you can just try to name everything correctly, municipality name, and then the year. So this one would be for 2022. And then we're going to kind of start going into the details of this document. So on the top left corner, you have your reporting year and your tax year. So your report year is going to be 2022. This is a little bit outdated. And then your tax year again would also be 2022. Now your tax information is your REA tax. That's the Recycling Enhancement Act tax. This tax is $3 a ton on all solid waste disposed of in New Jersey, landfill, incinerator, transfer station, etc. Every time material is dumped there, other than the tipping fee, there's a $3 a ton tax that comes back to us and it funds this program. Along with our county grant programs, our educational grant programs, also our Recycle Coach program, and lots of other things. So if you do not know this number just from your typical work, it's easy to calculate. So if you know your solid waste disposal number for your town for 2022, you would just multiply that tonnage number by $3 and you would get your estimated taxes paid for that year from your town. Sometimes also CFOs may track that, or maybe if you have a contract for that, it's built in. So there's a couple different ways you can find it. It is not a required field. There are towns that don't pay at all, or just a little bit of REA tax. Towns that have each resident have their own contract for solid waste pickup, things like that, that the town wouldn't pay those. So if you keep it zero, you can keep it zero. Why we ask for this is in the tonnage grant law, it says that your grant award cannot be less than the amount of REA taxes you paid during the same year. So when people submit their taxes to us, once we calculate your grant, we compare it to your tax number that you submitted, and you get the larger of the two amounts. So again, it's not mandatory. If you don't submit it, you'll still get your grant. It'll just be based on the data you submit to us. And if your data is large and you have more than what your tax is, you'll get that number anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But anyway, we can't get that information anywhere else other than you guys individually. So next to that section, at the top again, there's the signature portion. The documents do have to be signed, quote unquote. So this is kind of how we've done that. So you have in red here, you have completed by, and then in yellow, you have certified by. So your completed by section is going to be whoever actually collected your data, entered it into your spreadsheet, is going to have all that backup documentation, whoever that is, whether it be your MRC or your clerk or whoever's doing it. We just want to put their name there. That's going to be the person, if I have questions, I'm going to go back to, because they're going to have all that documentation. They're going to know, hopefully, the answers to all my questions. You don't have to be certified or anything to do the completion of the actual form. The certified by is like the signature. So it has to be done by a CRP or CRC. It's really the same thing. So whoever's signing your report, they need to put their name there. That person is also the person that has to submit the application to us. The application has to be reviewed, signed, and submitted to us by the CRP. Some towns don't have their own CRP at the moment. Maybe they're in line for the class, or they just retired or something like that. So you can have another town maybe that you work with or are nearby, possibly your county, depending on different agreements, be able to review and sign and submit your application. This is the only form that actually needs to be signed by the CRP. The other documents, anyone in your town who's doing this program can fill out. They don't have to be a CRP to fill those out and complete them. So we're just going to kind of go over all the different fields. You'll see a more complete screenshot here of what the form looks like. So you have your county and your municipality and sectors and all those things, and we're going to go over those one by one, and then you'll see all the end markets at the end. So each different material type obviously would get its own line. If you have one generator and they have multiple materials from that site, you would again give each its own line. If you have a material type but it was split up and sent to two different end markets, again, those would get their own lines for different end markets. So that's just some of the information we track. You can combine stuff, if you have multiple generators and they all do cardboard and they all send it to one place, you could combine it, but you may choose not to, which is also fine. Sometimes we have questions about maybe why something is much larger than usual or something like that as far as goes your total per material. So you may want to keep it separate by generator. So when you go back and you have to look it up, you can just go to one form and it's not all combined into one. It's kind of hard to separate that way. But again, it's really up to you how you want to do that. Um, we're not going to tell you how you have to do it a specific way. Just do it the way that works for you. So we're going to kind of go over all the different columns. We'll start, so you have your county, it's a drop down. You have to choose your county first. Once you do that, the drop down will become available under municipality. We only have official municipality names that have town codes, so we don't have any local names on there. So you have to pick the town it's in. These fields, along with the others, can all be copy and pasted in any of the ways you know how to copy and paste. It all works the same. So those can all be copy and pasted all the way down for as many of the rows as you need. So the next is going to be your sector. There's 4 sectors, and that's where your generators come in. So you have residential, commercial, institutional, and industrial. So residential and commercial are pretty straightforward. Your institutionals are your government offices, schools, nursing homes, all things like that. And then you have your industrial or factory. Not every town in New Jersey has industrial sectors. If you do, you want to make sure that it's put in there correctly. Any tonnage that you mark as industrial will not go towards your grant because that's not included in our calculations, but it will be included when we calculate your overall recycling rate. So we do use this data to generate recycling rates, and there are 2 of them. You have the one that includes commercial, residential, and institutional, and then one that's more of your overall. So you'll want to make sure, I know you're not getting paid for it, but it is important that we know what is industrial and what isn't. And we'll go over that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. The next is going to be your materials. So you have 30 different material types. They're all listed here in order. There is one drop down in the drop down that says other material not listed. That material is for anything that just doesn't fit in any of our other categories. There are some common things that are typically put in that category. Things like paints and stains and dry cell batteries are pretty common. So we did give them their own options. You'll see they will all have the same code at the end because they will all still be categorized together. But this way you can give us a little bit more detail on some of the more common things that end up in that category. And the next section is obviously going to be your most important, which is the actual numbers. So you have your tonnage amounts that you need to enter in this field. You want to double check that all your numbers are in tons. We do find a lot of errors that way, especially pounds and cubic yards and things like that. So you want to double check that all your numbers that you're entering are in tons. Some things to look out for. Things like motor oil and antifreeze, especially if they're coming from Lorco, which is a really common group in the state. They're almost always going to be reported to you in gallons. It's not always specified as gallons on their reports, but those materials are almost always going to be in gallons. So you'll need to convert those to tons. And we do have conversion tools for you, which I'll show you in a little bit. Things like clothing or other textiles tend to be reported in pounds, so that's just something to look out for. And sometimes things like brush or tree parts, or even some of your general recyclable materials, sometimes are reported in cubic yards. So just double check on your reports that everything's in tons. So this is just a really basic way to try to figure out what is industrial versus commercial. Sometimes, industry sounds huge, but sometimes industrial can be a small operation. So sometimes there's a kind of a gray area there. If you have a generator and you're not really sure which category it fits into, feel free to please reach out to me. We'll discuss the details and figure out where it best fits. But in general, industrial is going to be your pre-consumer. So these are just some examples. So if you have a place that creates newspapers and they have the scraps from cutting the newspapers, that would be industrial. Food scraps from things like Blue Apron or Fresh Direct or something like that that they recycle, things like that would be industrial. Basically anything that never made it to a customer. It just, was part of the manufacturing process of some sort of product. And commercial would be post-consumer, anything that made it to a customer but didn't maybe get sold and got recycled, or things like in office buildings, like all the recycling there, cafeterias in different businesses that have recycling, things like that would all be commercial. But again, if you're not really sure, please reach out to me and we'll figure it out together. The next group of columns are your end market information. This information, we only really require the first one, which is your end market name. And your end market is going to be the last place the materials changed hands. So that varies depending on the material type. A lot of times maybe you'll only know the hauler and you won't really know, or they don't tell you which facility they take it to, in which case your end market would be the hauler. Some businesses like PSE&G and Verizon, for example, sometimes even Target or places like that, they keep the material in their own circle and they kind of redo it themselves, in which case you could just put those company names as your end market. If you know the facility, let us know the facility. Usually the facility is going to be the last place anyone would know it went, so you're just going to want to put that. If you have this other information like the state that it's in or the address and stuff like that, please do provide it to us. That is helpful information. But if you are not sure, or they don't provide it, you can't find it, just put the end market name. Try not to go into too much trouble filling out every single cell if you don't want to waste your time, or I don't want to waste your time. You'll see in red here, it's highlighted under end market name. That's some functionality we've built in. So once you enter a number into the tonnage column, anything else in that same row that is a required field that is empty will highlight red, just to remind you that this is a required field. You need to fill it out. Once you enter something, the red will go away. It's not going to stop you from saving it or anything. It's just a color reminder. So if you have something blank, you can still save your document, come back later, all that kind of stuff. So it's not required that you fill it out to save it or anything like that. At the bottom of your form, you're going to see a lot of different tabs. These are just different resources for you. So your first one, all the way to the left here, is instructions, and that's the same document I pointed out earlier. It's your written out instructions for how to fill this and all the forms out, so you can easily access that from inside your report. Tonnage report is your main field, and the rest are going to be different conversions to help enter everything into the report. So your conversions tab is going to be your general conversions for all different material types. It's an order of the material codes. The next is single stream. So if you're given a single stream number, we don't have a drop down field for single stream. So what you do is you enter the number in the single stream tab at the top left, and it'll break out that number into 9 categories. So you're going to have materials 1 through 8, which is your typical curbside mix. And then at the top, it's going to say residue. That's basically taking out a little bit for contamination. So you don't need to enter that number. A lot of times people see residue and then they take that number and they enter it on the report and they list it as process residue, but that is not the same thing. Process residue is a different thing altogether. The residue on this document is just taking out for contamination, so do not enter that number. on your report. Just the materials 1 through 8 would then be entered on your form. Similarly, if you have commingled numbers and you have a paper number and a containers number, you have 2 different sort tools. So you have the paper sort tool for your paper number, and you have commingled for all your bottles and cans. It's the same process. You enter a number, it breaks it out into the material types and takes out some contamination numbers. And lastly, you have measure amount. So if you have something like a big pile of leaves or something, and you need to get a general weight for it, it's just kind of there to help give an estimate. And these are all at the bottom of your document, so you don't have to leave the document to use them. So that's it for the actual tonnage form. I think I saw a question pop up, but I can't seem to see my chat box. I don't know if anyone wants to tell me what the question was. Skip a second, I'm looking for it.
I don't see anything in my chat. Maybe somebody sent you something specifically,
okay.
Erin?
All right, well, I'll take a look at the end.
Something just popped up.
Oh, yeah, I saw it. Okay, here. Can you please help me understand what end market means? Is it where the hauler tips the recycling? Okay, so I can't see the whole question, but basically your end market is wherever the last hands took place. So to you, an end market may look different. So it may just be your hauler if you don't know what facility it went to. If you know where they tipped their recyclables at what facility, then that facility would be your end market. It's the last place you know that a truckload of recyclables went. So again, if you only know the hauler, then put the hauler. Sometimes the hauler is the same as the facility, like in waste management or something like that. So it's the last place that material that was collected ended up. Basically, I hope that helps. So the next thing is going to be your expenditure form. You'll see it highlighted here, and it's another Excel document. So again, you're going to have to enable things at the top because we've built in things like drop downs in the form. Again, when you save it, please save it as your municipality name and then the year, and you can write things like expenditures or something after it. So as long as it starts with your municipality name, that's the most important. At the top of this form, there are 3 fields. The first one, it says, this one says 2018. Your current one will say 2019 grant amount. And what this is the last check that you've received from us for your tonnage grant. So at this time, the last check that you would have received would have been for 2019 recycling that you would have got last year. So we just want you to enter whatever that amount was that you got here. We just use that so we can see like what amount you normally get and compare it to the expenditures you've made, just so we have an idea of what maybe your town looks like. You know, do you do a lot of spending? Do you save a lot? It's just informational for us so we could see it all in one place. So just enter that number there. If you don't know what that number is, you can go to this link that I have at the bottom of this screen. You can also Google NJDEP recycling statistics, and it's going to be the first link that pops up. At the bottom of that screen, it'll say payout schedule. You can go to 2019's and look up your town name, and it'll tell you how much your award was for that year. So if you don't know it off the top of your head, that's where you can find it. And then we just have your county and municipality. The rest of this form is pretty straightforward. We're just asking what expenditures you made from your tonnage grant account in the previous calendar year. So in this case, we're asking for 2022 and any expenses that you made from that account that the money is in. We just want to know what you guys spent this year or last year. It's just informational, so we're not like auditing anything. We're not adding up anything. This is just so we can get an idea of where the money we give out is being spent. A lot of we give out something like $16 million every year. So when people upstairs ask us, hey, what is this money going towards? We want to be able to go to your forms and be like, oh, it's being spent on equipment or salaries or contracts or bins or, something like that. So we just want to get an idea. So again, we're only asking for expenses made during calendar year 2022. And you don't have to put like nickels and dimes either. So, you just put what you bought, the general amount spent, and anything additional you want to let us know. If you want to let us know the vendor or whatever, you could put it in comments. And that's really it for your expenditure form. It's pretty short form. The second two forms that we're going to go over are PDFs. So the first one is your certification form. And this is certifying that your town followed all the rules and the standards for municipalities. So this is where that document I mentioned earlier comes into play at the end, the standards for municipalities document. So you're going to click on the PDF icon. It's going to open your document. This form is meant to and required to be filled out and signed by your mayor. We also write or equivalent if you don't have a mayor. There are a couple towns, smaller towns, that don't have mayors by title. They have lead council members. There's actually a couple towns that have presidents, and other things like that. So that's kind of how that allows. But this is meant to be filled out and signed by your mayor. And they have to certify that your town followed all the rules and standards for municipalities in 2022, and that they plan to do the same in the following calendar year of 2023. So what we've done is we've taken 7:26A-11, put it in its own PDF, and put it on the website. So you can just print it out. I think it's like 3, maybe 4 pages. It's actually pretty short. So you can give it to your mayor. They can read it, familiarize themselves with all the rules for recycling, and then they can sign that you guys are following all the rules. What this document is meant to do is to keep your mayors informed about what is required of them, so that you have a little bit more leeway in actually doing these things. There are towns that I've heard of, where it's rough and they're not allowed, they're not given the permissions to do what they need to do to make the recycling program efficient and successful. So we want to make sure the mayors are aware that these things are required of you so that you are then able to do them. And that is kind of the plan behind this document. Once everything's signed, scan it into your computer, and again, save it as your municipality name, the year, and certification or mayor certification or whatever you want to call it after that. So yeah, as long as it starts with your town name. And that's it for that form. The next and last form is your statement of intent. This form is another PDF. This is meant to be filled out and signed by your MRC of the town. They do not have to be a CRP, so if you're not certified at the moment, this is still for you to fill out. What happens a lot with this document is that if a town doesn't have a certified person and they get another town or county to review and sign and submit for them, we'll get this form filled out by that CRP, and that is not what we're looking for. We want to know that this information is filled out by someone in the town whose application is being submitted, whether they're certified or not. It just has to be done by someone in the town. And so that's the meaning behind this form. It's going to have 2 sections. So you have compliance and you have intent. So compliance is confirming that you completed these tasks during 2022. And during 2022, you were required to attend a county-held recycling meeting, which you're doing right now. So right now you're fulfilling your requirement for 2023. And you were also required to visit or tour at least one Class A facility. Again, this is last year's form, so it's a little out of date. So it doesn't show both of those as being required. But under compliance for this year, you will see that you'll need to fill out information for your county attended meeting, and also for your visit or tour of a Class A facility. You'll need to put, the county's name and the date of your meeting that you attended. And for the visit, you'll need to let us know which facility you visited and what date you went. In the intent section, it's just signing that you intend to comply with those requirements in this year. For 2023, your only requirement is to attend another county held recycling meeting, which again, you're doing right now. So you can enter, Morris County and today's date in this form for next year's that you'll have to submit. This again, print and sign, date, title for the MRC. Another common question we get about this form is a lot of times someone will have retired or moved on and left, and now there's a new person. So how do you fill out this form? In that case, under compliance, you would put the information for whoever from your town completed those tasks, whether they're still working here or not. You put, their name and the information for the meeting they attended, the information for the tour they attended. Under intent, you're going to put the name of the new employee who plans to do this for 2023. So you're going to have two different names on your form, and that is fine, because again, compliance is who did it last year and intent is who's going to do it this year. So it's okay if those are two different names, that is fine. And that's just a common question we get. Again, once you sign it, please scan it into your computer, save it your municipality name, the year, and the name of the document. Again, you don't have to call it State of Compliance Intent, it's very long. I call it an SOI for short, but whatever you want to name it, as long as it starts with your town name. And yes, I know I've said that about 8,000 times. So those are your 4 documents. When you're done and you're ready to submit, you're going to attach them all to an email. This is just a general look at what my email looks like and how to attach a file. If you're not sure, you can use the field here, attach file or item, or you can drag and drop, whatever works for you. This is just what my email looks like. In your email, you're going to send it to tonnagegrant@dep.nj.gov. You can also email me at any time at that email address if you have questions at any time of the year, not just application season. You can always email me there. In the subject line of your email, please include your municipality name. I cannot tell you how many times the email did not come from someone who has the town name in their email. There's no town name in the subject, and there's no town name anywhere in the email itself, and I have to open up a document to figure out what town name I'm looking at to start, because they've also not named any of their forms correctly. So that happens a lot, and it could just take me more time. So please include your municipality name and what the email is, so it's your application, in the subject line. You'll see here there's 4 attachments, and that's how it should look. It should have 2 Excels and 2 PDFs, all with your municipality name. A lot of times is what happens with the PDFs is people will take both of them, scan them in together, and send them as one document that has 2 pages. That does not work for us because we do not save those documents in the same files. So please make sure they are attached as separate PDFs. That is a very common thing that happens. So just please make sure your email looks like this one. It has 4 attachments. In the body of your email, you're going to want to put all your contact information. If you're having a different certified person submit, make sure they not only submit their information, but also your information, because I need to go back to the person who actually filled out that form if I have questions, not always the CRP that's submitted for them. If you're the same person, again, you just need yours. But please make sure that's all there. If you chose other materials not listed as a drop-down in your tonnage report, please let us know what material that is, It's good for us to track that information. You could just put that in the body of your email. Let us know, row this is this or this is this, something simple. And you can also put other information in your email. Something we ask is if one of your rows of data is really much, much higher than in previous years for any different reason, please let us know ahead of time. We do a check called validation later on with your data where we compare your data to your previous year's data and also your 5-year average for each material type. And if anything is statistically much higher than in previous years, we'll reach out to you to confirm that this is correct. And that's how we catch like a lot of errors. Again, maybe missed conversions. Sometimes there's missing decimal points or typos. So that's kind of how we validate that data and make sure it's correct. But if something like there was a big storm and a bunch of trees fell down, so you're going to have like a really high brush tree parts number, just let us know in the email. This way I don't even have to reach out to you. I'll already know why there was. Or if you did a huge road construction project that year, so that number is going to be really high. Or you did a bunch of construction and you had a bunch of C&D, and it's going to be really high, something like that. Like if just let us know. If not, we'll still reach out and confirm a number for you later, but it might save you a little bit of time. So applications, is very important, are due to us by April 30th of this year. Again, sorry, this is a little bit out of date. This is last year's presentation. Make sure that by this year, they are into us by April 30th. If you submit all 4 documents to us on time by April 30th, then we allow you extra time until June 15th of that year to resubmit your tonnage report to us with any additional information that you've received. So a lot of times people will get late reporting, and they want to add it in and not miss out. Obviously, that's very important. So you have to initially submit it to us, and then by June 15th, whatever you've collected since then, make sure you add it to your report and send it back to us by then. And what we'll do is we'll take your previous tonnage report and we'll delete that one and we'll replace it with your new one that has all the new tonnage that you've collected since April 30th. Try to only do this once, maybe twice. Sometimes people will continue, they'll get one new thing, they'll put it on the report and then they'll send it to us, but then they'll get another one and send it again, and we'll have to keep replacing it. Just wait out a little bit, wait till closer to June 15th until you're sure that a lot of everything is in, and try to just submit it to us once instead of multiple times. Just it's a little cumbersome sometimes. If it's after June 15th and you get another submittal, just reach out to me and I'll let you know if we can, take that or not. But as I know, it's not always your fault that these people submit super late. So, we'll try to work with you on that. But when you do resubmit, it does still have to be submitted by a CRP. You only have to submit the actual tonnage report form. You don't have to resubmit any of your other documents. Those are already done. So you just have to send this new form. And make sure it still has all your previous tonnage. Sometimes people will just send us the new tonnage in like a different form. But again, we're just going to delete your old version and replace it with a new one. So just continue adding anything new that comes in after April 30th to the same document. And then just resubmit the whole thing. Otherwise it gets confusing. We don't want to lose any of your tonnage. And that's pretty much it for your application and how it works. If you are new and you want more detail, please reach out to me. Also, maybe try to join the CRP class at Rutgers if you're not already on the waiting list or joined in on the class. I do teach this process to new CRPs as well during the course. Again, if you need to reach out to me at any time during the year, you can reach me at tonnagegrant@dep.nj.gov, or you can always call the office. Our number's there. I do work from home twice a week. And so if you do need to reach me right away, email is probably going to be your best bet. I check it all day, every day that I'm working. And that is pretty much it for my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Erin. I appreciate that. So next, we're going to have Larry Gindoff. He's discussing Morris County's recycling rate and how we got here today. Larry?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to 2023, and appreciate Erin's talk about how to fill out your tonnage grant form. It's certainly imperative for all our recycling coordinators to do their best to fill out those tonnage grant numbers to not only maximize your tonnage grant to get back from the state for all that money you pay in when you dispose of garbage, but also to help achieve our recycling goals that we like to and are mandated to try to accomplish here. So with that, I'm going to try to give a little background on how and why we are doing these recycling tonnage grants and why we're chasing these numbers, and just to give some perspective on it, as well as to give you some tips and guidance about how to get some of this information to fill into the reports Erin's discussing, and where to find that information that we accumulate at the county level for you to make it a little easier. So with that, I'm going to also share my screen to show you our MCMUA website, where we provide lots of the information. So at this point, I am showing you the homepage of our MCMUA website. You probably clicked up here on the upper left to join today's meeting. Appreciate you coming to the site and looking at it. And I just want to guide you through a few things where you could find some information for yourself. So as I scroll down the website here, you will see in the middle column, right at the bottom, I have a special page, or we have a special page we set up for the Municipal Recycling Coordinator. That's most of the people in the audience, and I'm going to click on that right now to go to that specific page and to show you where you can find some of the information that Erin's discussing. So right here at the top, first of all, we have the section where we provide information about the previous meetings. So after we're done with this meeting, the recording we achieve here, some of the PowerPoints that we are doing, we will add to this link right here. Click for previous for Municipal Recycling Coordinator meetings. So you'll be going there from now on to look up your attendance sheets, as well as to review any previous meetings if you want to go back on them. Then down on the page, we have information about your recycling tonnage reports, as well as recycling rates. So one thing I want to show you, first of all, here is the link to the DEP website that Erin was talking about. So I'll just click it quickly, and you'll see it goes to the website that Erin was discussing and brings you right there. I'm going to go back now to the MUA's page, and just to show you that you get access to the DEP's website. In addition, before I go over the actual tonnage report numbers, I just want to go over some of the recycling statistics that the state provides. So I'm going to show you that we provide those under our recycling page on the MUA's website. So under solid waste, the first thing you see is recycling. And we have information about recycling for all of Morris County. So I'm going to scroll down. And as I scroll down past the map, you will see what DEP has posted as the most current recycling rate table that they have on their website. I copy and pasted that and brought it into our county website, and I want to just go over it with you quickly so you understand what we're trying to achieve here with all this recycling tonnage. First of all, according to the law, we have two recycling goals we are trying to achieve. The first one we call the municipal recycling goal, which is a 50% recycling goal. Now, when you achieve 50% recycling, it truly means that everything you recycle equals in tonnage the exact amount that you throw away in the garbage. So if you recycle 50 tons and you throw away 50 tons, that is a 50% recycling goal. And as I go over these numbers, you will see in this middle column are the disposal numbers, county by county, and I have highlighted Morris County in yellow. So you will see, according to municipal solid waste, which is in essence type 10 waste, waste that you pick up at the curb from residents, as well as commercial waste, gets calculated as municipal solid waste. And we compare and add that to this third major column, which are the recycling numbers. So the MSW recycling you see here for Morris County, and this is 2019, is 223,000 tons. We compare that to the garbage we threw out there, which is 294,000 tons. 223 is less than 294 by a bit, and so therefore it results in a 43% recycling rate for 2019 for Morris County with respect to municipal solid waste. We are failing to achieve our 50% recycling goal in 2019. So at this point, in order to achieve the goal, we need to get our recycling number to equal or exceed the amount of garbage we are throwing away. And at that point, we will be achieving or exceeding 50% recycling. So we have some work to do here, and we still have 2020 and 2020 numbers that are still coming out. I'm not too optimistic that they're going to achieve the 50% number, but from here on end, it's up to everyone to do the best that they can, like Erin was describing, to chase after all those tonnage numbers, enter them into those spreadsheets, find everything you can, not only from what you collect as a municipality, but also what is collected in your municipality from various waste generators, the commercial entities, and find all those tonnage numbers so you could submit them on behalf of your town, not only to increase your tonnage grant number and how much money you achieve, but also to achieve the tonnage number that we claim we recycle, so we could show that we are doing what our recycling rate is, so we could compare it year in and year out to see how we're doing with respect to garbage generation and recycling generation. Before I leave this chart, I just want to show we also have this material called non-MSW. That's what Erin was referring to as the industrial recycling, as well as this could also be the industrial disposable material, such as construction debris and bulky waste, as well as scrap metal. This all counts as non-MSW disposal. And then you have those materials that she was referring to, the industrial recycling, that counts as non-MSW recycling. With respect to that, we call that total waste, and we have a recycling goal with respect to that. It is a 60% recycling goal. So that includes all the MSW and non-MSW materials, therefore total. And you could see here as we go across the yellow line, all the way at the right, Morris County in 2019 was achieving right on the nose the 60% recycling rate for all of solid waste. So kudos to everyone. I mean, due to the bulky and non-municipal solid waste materials, we have been achieving our recycling rates for total recycling, but we really do need to beef up our reporting. And I do believe it's mostly a reporting issue to everyone out there. I think we probably are achieving the 50% recycling rate. We are not reporting all the numbers that we are probably recycling. So I think if we go after the numbers with good diligence and due diligence, we will get a lot closer, if not above the 50% recycling rate. So with that said, I'm going to go to that municipal recycling coordinator page again and start discussing how do we get these numbers to help do that better. So I'm going to hit on the home button here, go back to the home page of the MUA, show you again where that municipal recycling coordinator page is, which is the middle column right in the middle of the home page. Click on it. And here I'm going to go over some of the numbers Erin was referencing in her previous presentation. First of all, on this municipal recycling coordinator page, we have recycling tonnage reports provided by various markets. So various markets who collect recycling and or accept recycling are required to report those by March of the year, I think.
They have to. Yes.
Is there a deadline? I believe by the end of March is their actual deadline to report their numbers to us. So Markets accumulate their recycling they collected by municipalities and submit reports to us starting about this time of the year. And for the next couple of months, we get dribs and drabs of reports coming in from markets, and we post them on our website. I'm going to show you the 2021 version of those market reports that we had and go over that with you. So I'm clicking on 2021 here, and this will show you the various reports that came in. The first report you see is one Erin talked about early on in her presentation, the $3 tax paid by each town for disposal, or the Recycling Enhancement Act disposal tax. I'm going to click on it, and it should bring up a PDF that is generated through the Morris County MUA. Since we operate both transfer stations in the county and have flow control for all solid waste being disposed of in Morris County, all the garbage being disposed of in Morris County should be coming through one of the two Morris County MUA transfer stations located in Parsippany and or Mount Olive Township. So Morris County has a very good perspective on what the garbage is that was collected in Morris County and how much tax was paid on each ton delivered to us. So therefore, we provide and generate this $3 a ton recycling tax report, I'll call it, for each town. And for most towns, this is what you need to fill in your $3 tax amount that Erin was referencing. And it shows you right here is the tonnage that you disposed of at the transfer stations. And in essence, we paid $3 a ton on everything disposed of at the transfer station, sent it down to the Treasury of the state of New Jersey. And this is the amount we sent down on your municipality's behalf. And this total amount in the right column is what you should be submitting in that field in the report that Erin was referencing. The only situations where you don't do it is when your town doesn't pay us directly and you rely on the hauler to pay the Morris County MUA bill directly. And in that case, we don't know when the specific hauler, let's say it's Blue Diamond picking up for your town, and look at Dover, for instance, they have zero here because they have a flat rate not subscription rate, but a flat rate contract with Blue Diamond. So Blue Diamond pays the bill directly to us, and we don't know what Dover pays. In that situation, it's up to the town of Dover to figure out their own $3 tax and submit it in Erin's report. But for most of the towns, these numbers are what you need to submit. So if you're a town that doesn't pay the bill directly to us, you probably have to calculate that number yourself. But this report will be here for 2022, like the rest of the reports over the next coming weeks. So I'm going to back out of this, go back to the reporting page. The second thing I want to mention here are reports submitted by various markets that aren't the MUA, but the various recyclers throughout the state and the country that Erin was referencing. So as I scroll down the page, you will see a big list of various recycling markets, and we just accumulate for your convenience the list of all these recycling reports. So you could go into them one by one, and typically they will be listed town by town and how many tons they collected of or recycled of each material. So I'm going to just go into one that will hopefully be interesting. And I'm going to click on Ag Choice, a food waste recycler up in Sussex County. So here you will see their report. I'm going to try to blow this up a bit if I can. Ooh, yes, I'm able to do that. I hope that helps. And you will see they provide reports for Sussex County, Middlesex County. So you've got to find your town and your material and then just put in the amount of tons. So here are the tons listed here. So different people do it differently. You just have to go into each different report and figure out what are your town's numbers that apply to your town. Quite often, they'll have reports that aren't the municipal name, and they'll be the local zip code names, such as Gillette instead of Long Hill Township, or Whippany instead of Hanover Township. You'll have to look for those in certain reports, and like Erin was saying, some reports are in cubic yards. You'll have to convert them using the converters. So we accumulate these reports. You'll notice on the left side, right before the report, we put the date that we added them to the website. So you'll see some are added in February, some come in March, some come in April, some may even come up to that June 15th last deadline to report to the DEP for that second go round on reporting. So come back to this page every now and then to see if there's anything updated to get all the tonnage that you are deserving to get. I'm going to the top of the page now to show you some of the reports that the MUA provides, because we accept a lot of material county-wide from all over the county. So first thing I'm going to show you up here is the first report, which is a summary by town. And this is a summary by town for the materials the MUA picks up from our curbside customers. Of the 39 municipalities in Morris County, we currently collect from 14 of the municipalities curbside. So one of the benefits of being a Morris County MUA customer is you get good reports from us, good support from us, and things seem to be easy to report to. So we provide reports such as this. So for instance, I'm going to scroll to the top. And for the town of Boonton, they would get a report like this that we collected, and here's probably something we pulled from the depot, 23 tons of cardboard, large rigid plastic, and then we have a whopping amount, 967 tons, let me see if I could blow that up, of single stream recycling. Like Erin said, you can't submit single stream recycling, even though we collect it as such in the reports, so you have to break that down by what were the components of single stream recycling. On the bottom of every page of this report, we have what the material recovery facility, the recycling facility is, Republic Services. Many of you just saw the Class A virtual tour that we walked you through. You saw how it works. And at the bottom of this page, we show you the breakdown of the materials that you should be reporting in your reports. Now, these are different than the standards that the DEP provides, because we have audited these facilities, done composition reports on these facilities, and have more precise breakdowns of the single stream recycling information than the state provides in their generic breakdowns. I really encourage you to use these numbers as far as your percentages, because you will notice at the bottom the residual number that is left over in garbage remaining from the recycling is only 5.69%, which is traditionally super low and a very low residue rate. Kudos to everyone in Morris County for helping get the educational word out to make sure people prepare their recycling correctly so the facility could recycle as much as they can to keep this residue rate really low. It's historically low, and therefore I encourage everyone to use this material breakdown instead of the one Erin was referencing earlier in her presentation. So left column here, just so everyone knows, is a single stream breakdown for single stream, and then in the middle column for the one or two towns that may deliver mixed paper to Republic Services. Here's how they break down the paper versus in the third column, how they break down the commingled container mix, glass, aluminum, steel containers, and plastics. So with that, you're probably wondering, how do I break that down? And we have done a little favor for you. I'm going to back out of this and go to the next item on the MUA section of the reporting thing, which is the single stream composition breakout tool. I'm going to click on this and it will download an Excel chart that provides what I just showed you on the bottom of that paper based on the composition that Republic Services does. So if you input at the top here, your single stream number, let's say it was a 967 ton, you know what? This is read only. I'm not sure it's going to work for me. It's not going to work for me here. But in this yellow column, if you inputted 967 tons, it would break down the numbers for you right here based on the correct composition based on what we do at Republic facilities. So I encourage you to go to this Excel chart that's provided on our page. I'm going to figure out how to back out of here. So it's right here again, and this does the breakdown based on what Republic Services does at their facility. Now, I would say almost most of the municipalities' single stream material that gets picked up in Morris County goes to Republic Services. We have a handful that doesn't. You probably know who you are, but I don't believe Pequannock goes to Republic Services. I don't believe Montville goes there. I don't believe Morristown or Denville,
Lincoln Park.
or Lincoln Park don't go there. I think virtually everyone else in Morris County's recyclables that they pick up curbside land at the Republic facility, and therefore this composition breakout tool is applicable to you. For those other 5 municipalities I just mentioned, I would think that the generic breakout tool that is provided by DEP that Erin referenced is available for you to use, and you should be using that. I think that's it on the breakout tool of how single stream gets broken out into the individual components. Lastly, I'm not going to go into these individual reports, but we also will provide a few tires and recycling that we collect at our transfer stations and end up getting recycled. We also provide big tonnage numbers on the vegetative waste that is brought into our 2 vegetative waste composting facilities that produce compost and mulch from the grass, leaves, and brush that is brought to us. So we provide the recycling numbers on grass, leaves, and brush for the towns that use us. We also run a significant household hazardous waste program. So here we provide information about the hazardous materials we have collected and recycled. Many of those are some of the paints, the batteries, propane tanks. So there are a few materials that we collect for household hazardous waste that end up getting recycled. So use this report to report those materials. And then finally, e-waste provided by the mostly the MRM contract that runs for much of Morris County. We try to provide those numbers that they provide to us from here. That is different, by the way, for everyone who's in the program, that you have to submit your own e-waste numbers with respect to that program. That's separate and different than this tonnage grant submission discussion that we're talking about here. But this is where you get your numbers about how many tons for that year did you recycle for e-waste. So with that, this is the tonnage reporting page that we provide you to look up many of the tonnage numbers you should be submitting to the state in that tonnage report form that Erin referenced. This is not everything, though. We don't get reports from every market, and there are many businesses and generators in each of your specific towns that probably recycle their materials at various places that you have not reached out to, you've not gotten information from them, and there's a lot of latent recycling tonnage that is just not being reported. That is probably happening, and I strongly encourage everyone to go out, seek out those numbers. I would really think about who are the biggest generators in your town, generating the most significant quantities of the easiest to recycle materials, which is probably corrugated cardboard. Virtually everyone recycles that, and you should be able to get recycling numbers from almost every business on that. In addition, just talking to your businesses about that gets you in the foot into the door to encourage them to not just recycle cardboard, but all the mandated materials, and to help them do your job and do our job in recycling as much as we can to maximize not only your tonnage grant numbers, but also your tonnage grant dollar payback that you get from the state. So with that, I hopefully provided you some background on why we're going through all this work, submitting these tonnage numbers to the DEP, not just that it's the law, not just that we are trying to get dollars back from the money we submitted on these taxes to help us make us whole as far as getting money back for our recycling programs, but also to make progress in achieving our recycling rates. So we're doing that for all the right reason, conserving resources, not using more energy and other resources than we need to do. And recycling certainly helps make us better stewards of our world, our county, our municipalities, and ourselves. So with that little diatribe, I thank you for listening. I thank you for doing your best in 2023 to get all our 2022 recycling tonnage numbers in place. I am going to close out by showing you, I'm going to back out to our main page and show you I've got a 2022 tonnage report page all set up, and it's empty at this point, and we are just beginning to get reports submitted. So over the next couple coming weeks, this report will get populated by recycling reports from the various markets and from the MUA. So over the next couple of weeks, start visiting this site and start entering your information into the Excel chart that Erin's referencing, and get the recycling reports done by that April 30th deadline. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone may have. And I believe that's it.
I believe Erin's got,
That's a private question.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have some questions.
Someone did ask when the next tonnage awards will be coming out. So I just wanted to address that real quick. It took a little longer than usual. 2020 data was weird, as should be expected because 2020 was weird. So it took a little bit more review and validation and checks, but they are almost ready to come out. I'm hopeful that an announcement will go out in the next week or two, but don't hold me on that. But it is forthcoming very soon, not months away, just like a couple weeks. So that's it. That was the only question I got. So thank you.
Good.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Larry, for that wonderful presentation. So your certificates from the Gindoff University will be shipping out next week. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Chris. She's going to share some information about increasing your tonnage numbers. So I'm going to share my screen again, our PowerPoint presentation. Perfect.
Great.
Okay.
Cool. So I'm going to build on what Larry has already established. Thank you, Larry. And this is a very exciting time of the year. It's tonnage reporting. Us old coordinators get very excited. So many of you are old hands at this, but some of the new MRCs will be interested in our tips and tricks to round up recycling numbers. So first of all, get a list of names and mailing addresses from your fire official. They have all that information. When you get the list, go through, pull out all the duplicates or any of the public locations such as parks and whaleheads, because they don't need a letter from you. So on our MRC webpage that Larry's already showed you, scroll down to recycling report implementation, and there'll be a little link, getting recycling tonnage reports from businesses. There's a sample draft letter there, and you can update that. So it's a Word document, and you can use that to request tonnage reporting. There's also our tonnage reporting form. So you'll see that the tonnage recycling form, it's right under that link. These documents are in Word and you can update them and personalize them. So if you reprint that draft letter on your fancy official stationery, you're really going to make an impression on a business in town. Next slide. So mail your tonnage request letter and form along with a copy of the Morris County mandated recyclables material flyer. Send it to all businesses and institutions in town. Include your email address and ask for the generator to email you back with their numbers. This way, you'll have the generator's email for next year's report. If you contact all of your town's waste generators, you're going to get oil filters from gas stations. You're going to get tire recycling from auto dealers, food waste recycling from delis, fluorescent bulb recycling from schools, X-ray recyclings from doctor's office. I mean, there's a whole world out there of tonnage just waiting to be reported. So it's exciting. So sending your letter with the mandated flyer, this will also help satisfy the the Morris County Solid Waste Management requirements to create and mail notices to generators of recycling opportunities and requirements. Also, your own municipal ordinance requires requires businesses to report each year. So that's a good thing. So visit the MRC webpage to see the recycling tonnage reports that Larry just mentioned. Larry's going to keep updating them as they come in. Keep checking the reports and look for your town and the names of the subsections in town. As Larry mentioned, Cedar Knolls in Hanover, Ledgewood in Roxbury, Gillette in Long Hill. Also take a look at your report from last year to see if you're missing any vendors. Be sure to get recycling numbers from your municipal waste haulers. That's a whole different story. And check with your municipal departments. For instance, your police department may have a shredding company they're using. The construction department can direct you to a builder who has been recycling scrap metal over the year. The health department can give you a list of restaurants where grease is being recycled. And the DPW may have vegetative waste recyclers that you don't even know about. And also, please contact local waste haulers, vegetative waste vendors, landscapers, shredding companies, scrap metal dealers, all of the MRFs. You can find this on our website. Clothing bin recyclers, food waste recyclers, etc. Cast the widest net possible and pull in as many tons as you can. So you're going to be sending the tonnage report, the mayor's certification, expenditure report, compliance form to Erin by April 30th. That's a hard deadline, but do not panic. As Erin says, if you don't have a completed report, send it anyway, and then you can revise it on by June 15th. Also, if you would like us to chat about the report with you, we'll be glad to do that. We'll meet with you. We'll review it. We're glad to help you with your report. And please, whenever you send anything to Erin, please copy Cheryl so we have a report. It's good for us to keep a report. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Nice. Okay. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Thank you.
So this is just some of our contacts, if you don't have them already, how we could be reached. And it's our website at the bottom. So other than that, I'm going to stop this and I'll go back out here. Does anybody have any questions again that you thought of? Any questions for Chris, Larry, Erin before we close up for today? I'll wait a minute, but again, with those contacts that were there, I mean, most of you have that already and reached out to us outside of the presentation, but always feel free to give us a call, an email, stop by. We're more than happy to talk about anything that you have that's going on in your town as it relates to recycling, solid waste. But if not, I conclude this meeting.
Next meeting?
Yeah. I also want to bring up that our next meeting is going to be on April 26th. That'll actually be here at the County College of Morris. We'll have more information as we get a little bit closer, but we should have a pretty good lineup of speakers for that event. And again, it's in person, so we'll see you
Nice.
all after quite a long time apart from COVID.
Will there
So
be food there?
there will be food.
Wow.
Only the best food.
Okay, good food. There you go.
Yeah, and prizes.
Wait for the credits.
Yes. So we did have today's meeting as one credit. We're gonna write to Carol and see if we could get that extended because it went a little bit over.
Due to my pontification, you may get an extra half a credit.
But we'll let you know.
Yeah, but that's on
What's
the
the meeting on
26th.
26th?
That's the meeting that's on the 26th is the Municipal Recycling Coordinator meeting that we have every, we do keep pontificating. Is the meeting, so we have to have 2 county meetings a year. Sometimes we hold 3, but that's what that meeting is on the 26th,
For
Christie.
coordinators.
It's for recycling coordinators. Okay, so thank you again for joining us. I don't think there's any other questions there. Nope. Okay, so we'll
Okay.
see you on the 26th
well,
of
everyone.
Bye,
April.
everybody.